Affirm CEO Max Levchin, who of course co-founded PayPal and is now trying to build what he calls the first modern bank for a younger demographic, starting with point-of-sale loans. He joins us now from New York, along with Bloomberg Tech's Selena Wang. Max, thank you as always for joining us. So, progress report. You've raised $1.5 to $2 billion. You've raised at a $1.5 to $2 billion valuation, and you've made a promise that Affirm is going to be something big. What makes you think that Affirm can be a giant in consumer financing next to traditional and non-traditional players, given what you've seen over the last few years?
I think there are a couple of secular trends that really create an amazing opportunity, and the time is now. The biggest one is the new generation is mobile first, completely plugged in, and differentiates very much on the notion of transparency and simplicity. Young people today want to bank, want to deal with financial products that are honest, that tell them exactly what the costs will be, and that have no gotchas. And it's very hard for the traditional players, where the business models are fundamentally built on some of these hidden fees and unfair advantages, to speak to that audience. And I think that that's where the opportunity of fintech really is.
So you've launched a whole set, sorry, Selena, a whole set of campaigns. There's a new summer travel campaign, for example, where you're learning different ways that consumers want to pay. What are some trends that you're seeing there that are changing the way you do business?
I think I already said a little bit to the point of simplicity. Transparency really resonates with this audience. It's very hard to overstate just how powerful that notion is. Another sort of a similar trend, but maybe a little bit different, is the sense of self-budgeting, self-control, being able to look at your overall expense planning and say, I'm going to travel, I expect to go shopping, I expect to maybe do some interesting experiences, and I want to understand all these things together in a single picture. And we're working very hard to address that. But I think this notion of, I want guardrails against overspending, against getting into debt, against carrying something that sticks with me all the way through the beginning of the school year for especially young people, is a very powerful idea.
Now, a few years ago, you said you wanted to build the modern bank for the young demographic. You've started with point-of-sale loans, from physical products to experiences, but what's next?
I try very hard not to comment on the next feature. I think there's so much we can do just at the point of sale. We've traditionally spent most of our cycles online. We've now just started in 2017 offering Affirm offline in a brick and mortar, and it's gone amazing because in part of the elimination of the embarrassment of applying for credit and getting rejected. And so that's a huge area of opportunity and expansion for us, part of why all the fundraising that you've talked about. After that, there's just a endless opportunity as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of it comes from the fact that these products are the same for the last 50 years, and there's so much more we can do.
Now, part of the allure of Affirm is that after the financial crisis, a lot of millennials sort of lost faith in these traditional financial institutions. But now we're seeing firms like Goldman Sachs have some pretty good early success with their digital loan products. So does that mean the perception is changing here?
I think Goldman Sachs is kind of a really interesting outlier. They traditionally were not in the consumer-facing financial products, and after they turned bank during the crisis, they've now decided to step in and to take advantage of the license they got. I think it remains to be seen. I think there's plenty of entrants and some exiters from in this market. Reality is, U.S. credit card debt alone is on the order of $1 trillion. I think the opportunity is fundamentally with those who are trying to innovate, as opposed to those of us that are sort of eyeing each other. I think a lot of the traditional banks are really married to the business model that unfortunately calls for deriving half your profitability from things like late fees, which I think is ultimately unsustainable.
Max, where are you today on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? We just had another big institution, the Bank for International Settlement, saying it'll never be ready for prime time. You have people like Warren Buffett saying it's rat poison squared. What does Max Levchin think?
So I think the comparison that people draw with cryptocurrencies and the internet is sort of, if you look at the 90s, the internet was difficult and not user-friendly, and we're still finding out in the 90s, we're still finding out exactly how it would work, and today, look, we can't do without it. I think there's something to that comparison, but I think it's probably one step even earlier. The applications for cryptocurrencies haven't yet been developed. Cryptocurrencies as they exist today are the building blocks, not of the web, but of the underlying internet. It's literally the communications protocols. And so I'm very bullish, very long term. I am staying out of the speculation because I try very hard to bet on things that are meaningful as opposed to up and down all day long. And in the medium term, it'll take some brilliant product people as opposed to brilliant speculators to come up with what it's good for. So I remain neutral, as I have been in quite some time, but I love the technology behind it.
So do you own any? If so, what?
So I used to say no, I don't. Except one of my employees pointed out to me that a long time ago I accidentally invested in a company that paid a dividend in Bitcoin. So it turns out I do. But it certainly damages my claim of neutrality. But I promise you, I didn't even know about it, and it's not a lot.
Now, it's been in talks and reported that you've been in talks with Walmart to offer installment loans to their customers. So what can you tell us about that potential opportunity?
Sadly, I can't say very much about speculative relationships with retailers, no matter how small or large, part of not overpromising.
Now, you have partnered with a lot of luxury stores as well, even though we were just discussing Walmart. And one of the criticisms is that Affirm makes it easy, almost too easy, for people to buy things that maybe they don't actually need, and even if they can technically afford it, maybe they shouldn't buy it. What's your response to that?
So the position we've always taken from the very, very beginning of Affirm, now almost 7 years ago, is we have to be very non-judgmental and extremely prescriptive. Non-judgmental means if you're buying shoes and that's the thing you have to have and you want us to finance it, if you can't afford it, we will. And if you're buying diapers or something essential and you cannot afford it, we do not want to be a party to that financial transaction because we feel we're pushing you into debt that you cannot afford. And so this notion of we cannot know what's important to you and what's right and what's wrong for your personal decisions, but if it's financially wrong for you, we will very much proscribe the transaction no matter how badly you want it. And that served us really well, especially because our business model has no fees of any kind, no late fees, no hidden fees, certainly. As a result, we only make money when the consumers pay us back on time. Our incentives are completely aligned. And so when we don't believe they can or they would, we have to decline the loan. And I feel that that really has kept us honest through